Outcasted OC. Viewer discretion is advised. Incoming transmission in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hey everybody, it's Courtney here from the Outcasted OC Podcast and welcome to this week's Monday Night Raw recap. Before we get into it, yes, there is a change of scenery. There's something going on with the power outlets in my room and it won't allow me to use my ring light, so I'm in my bedroom doing this. I've tried to make it as clean as I can for you guys, but we are not going to let anything stop us from talking about Monday Night Raw this week. Let's get straight into it. So Monday Night Raw this week kicks off with a video recap of the tag match that was the main event last week on Monday Night Raw. This was the match between Finn Balor and Damian Priest from the Judgment Day, going up against the tag champions at the time, Jey Uso and Cody Rhodes. We obviously all know, if we watched it, how it went down. Jimmy Uso interfered, causing Jey and Cody to lose the match, and we have new tag team champions. So the show actually this week starts off with Finn Balor and Damian Priest coming out to the ring to cut a promo. Finn Balor goes ahead and welcomes everybody to Monday Night Raw, says he's feeling good, and asks Damian if he can say his signature phrase. So he goes ahead and says, "All rise for the Judgment Day," which, as you know, that is Damian Priest's thing to say. And he's feeling good because they're now two-time tag team champions. Damian goes ahead and says that Rhea and Dominic are not with them at the moment because they are currently handling Judgment Day business out the back. And he said that we're back to running it all now. We're all champions. We're running every division that we can. And then Cody Rhodes comes out and interrupts. The crowd absolutely go crazy for Cody Rhodes. They love him. They are in Dallas, Texas this week. And then Cody goes ahead and asks, well, how does it feel having an interruption like this? Because you guys are always doing it to everybody else. So how does it feel happening to you this week? Cody goes ahead and says to Finn and Damian that he has some choice words for Rhea Ripley and that she is in fact the mommy of not only Dominic but the entirety of the Judgment Day. And then we hear Damian go ahead and say, you know, I think you're actually also forgetting the fact that I did put you through a table last week, and I'm glad that you've found me because otherwise I would have just come and found you. And starts asking about, you know, what is Cody's story? What is Cody's story that he's trying to finish? We all know Cody's in the middle of finishing a story, but everybody, including myself, is wanting to know what that story is. And he said that the story is that you failed. And Cody goes ahead and says, well, how about we put that theory to the test then? And then Damian raises the idea of how about we have Cody Rhodes versus Senior Money in the Bank, Damian Priest at Crown Jewel, which is actually next week for us. And Cody goes ahead and says he accepts, but where do we go now? How about we give the crowd in Dallas a preview of what's to come at Crown Jewel? And then we see Rhea and Dominic come out. We see JD McDonough come out as well too. And JD starts brawling with Damian Priest and Cody Rhodes outside of the ring. And then we go ahead and see JD and Damian setting up Cody's ankle in a steel chair against the ring steps, only to clip it with another one. So we're kind of going for that injury angle again, very similar to how we had with Brock Lesnar, obviously in that 3 or 4 PLE cycle that we had. It's interesting to see that we're trying to see that Cody always has to be injured to overcome the odds to finish the story. Nonetheless, I'm very excited that there is another match that has been added to the Crown Jewel PLE. I feel as though WWE at the moment are getting really into setting up these matches very soon. I kind of felt with Payback and Fastlane, a lot of the matches felt very last minute, so it's really good to see them optimizing their TV time to set up these matches in PLEs. Then we saw Cody Rhodes backstage with Jey Uso and Adam Pearce. I did forget to mention that Jey Uso actually did come out to help Cody during the beatdown segment, and we saw them talking about Cody's ankle and having to take him to medical. Then we had the first match of the night, which was Alpha Academy versus New Day. And it's kind of funny now because Akira Tazawa is kind of seen as an Alpha Academy recruit. He was with the Alpha Academy and Maxine as well, which was quite cool. Obviously, Akira Tazawa has been getting sprinkled in TV as of late, and I'm really enjoying seeing his work that he's been doing. So straight off the bat, we see Chad Gable working Xavier on the ground, and we see a really nice double team for Chad Gable coming in from Xavier and Kofi. We see a beautiful sequence coming in from Chad and Kofi as well too. Really nice Russian leg sweep coming in from Xavier. Xavier does a really nice spinning slam as well too. And then we see Chad Gable hitting 3 German suplexes. We see Chad and Otis setting up a bulldog onto Xavier. Xavier hits Otis with an arm splash, and then obviously we get the winners, which are the New Day in this match. And then Akira Tazawa's face at the very end, he's just looking so incredibly just like deflated that his team has lost. Akira Tazawa is a national treasure, and I swear we have to protect this man at all costs. We had a backstage segment where Jackie was catching up with Becky Lynch pre her match against Indi Hartwell, and Becky goes ahead and Jackie says to her, well, how do you feel about the fact that you're having to defend your title back to back? You know, you've got to defend it against Indi today, and then you're defending it against Lyra in Halloween Havoc tomorrow. How do you feel? And Becky says that she's always looking for a fight, and that she feels as though Indi never lost her title, but she also never had a chance to truly defend it. And she says that if it takes me having to defend this title every single day to prove how great I am going to do it, and welcomes Indi Hartwell to the big time. We had a couple of video recap segments, so let's quickly go over them. We had a video package coming in for the Viking Raiders, specifically Ivar. I think Eric's out with some form of injury. Then we saw Seth and Drew's video recap from last week, the interaction that they had, if you saw it on Monday Night Raw. Then we see Seth Rollins is walking backstage and he runs into Rhea Ripley. And Rhea Ripley says, you know, you have a lot of history with the Judgment Day, and, you know, it's coming from respect on our end. It took all of us to try and take this title off you, but you still held the title, so obviously, you know, you're out here doing your own thing. But Drew McIntyre is another object, he's another specimen, he's another thing you now have to conquer within your title reign. And she says, you know, how about you have the insurance of having the Judgment Day behind you? And Seth goes ahead and says that it sounds as though that you've lost trust in your boy Damian Priest, because you're out here making deals with everybody and anybody, trying to form some alliances, and says, you know, what would I want within you guys? How, after everything you've done to me, how could I want you guys? And Rhea goes ahead and says, well, you know, the Judgment Day will have your back, you know, you're fragile, your back's wearing out on you, and starts referencing the fact that his back's obviously the reason that he's getting very burnt out and very tired. And then she goes ahead and mentions all these really good champions and says, you know, you could be like the next Roman Reigns. And Seth Rollins responds by saying, you know, he doesn't want to be like Roman. And Rhea said, well, that doesn't sound like it was a no to me. So it's interesting that Rhea Ripley's out here trying to make alliances with Drew McIntyre and Seth Rollins at the same time, considering that they are going to be going up against each other at Crown Jewel this weekend. It's very interesting to see. We had a segment with Indi Hartwell and Candice LeRae. Now, Indi's getting ready for her match against Becky, and we see Natalya coming in, and she's talking about how Tegan Nox is not here, and now how she's having to find another tag team partner for this match that she has tonight against Piper and Chelsea. Then we go into the match of Becky Lynch and Indi Hartwell. Now, Lyra Valkyria was present via ringside, obviously amping up her match between her and Becky on NXT tomorrow, so that's quite cool to see that Lyra was there. It's nice to see they sprinkle in the NXT talent when this happens. Straight away from the jump, Indi Hartwell's looking very strong. She's overpowering Becky Lynch any chance she gets. She's got so much fire within her that it's just coming out straight away within the match. Then we see Indi working Becky Lynch outside of the ring, and she goes ahead and slams her into the barricade. After the commercial break, Becky Lynch regains control. We see Indi Hartwell hitting Becky with a really nice big boot. Becky then follows this up with a really nice superplex, following into an armbar as well too. We see Indi Hartwell slamming Becky and then hitting Becky with a spine buster. Becky ends up getting Indi Hartwell into the armbar, and Indi ends up submitting. Then at the end of the match, they shake hands, and Becky goes out of the ring and walks on up to Lyra Valkyria. Then we see Candice LeRae still watching the TV backstage, and she actually ends up getting beaten down by Xia Li, and says, consider this your warning, and go ahead and tell Indi Hartwell the same thing. This is obviously because Indi somewhat jumped the line in front of Xia for her opportunity at the NXT Women's Championship. Then we see Adam Pearce is backstage with security, obviously in preparations for the contract signing that's going to be happening for the Fatal 5-Way match. And we see Nick Aldis come in, and he goes ahead and says, you know, I'm really sorry about what happened last week. You know, I'm still a rookie here. I'm still trying to find my feet. You know, maybe that wasn't the best first impression I could have given you, and I'm really sorry for that. And then they end up, you know, sweeping things under the rug, and Adam Pearce basically, you know, tells Nick Aldis basically to stay and kind of see how the flagship show runs. How about you stick around and kind of see what we do here on Monday Night Raw, just so you can get the ropes a little bit more for Friday Night SmackDown. Then we had the contract signing, so straight away Adam Pearce is out in the ring, and he goes ahead and he says, you know, we're going to make this quick. There's a whole bunch of security outside of the ring, and he welcomes every single challenger of Rhea Ripley to come out and quickly sign this contract and stand in the ring. He's trying to make it not like an ordinary contract signing where everybody's in the ring at once. He's just getting, you know, the likes of Raquel and he introduces them too. So you're Raquel, you're Shayna, your Nia, your Zoe. He welcomes everybody out, gets them to sign it, and then goes ahead and says, well, I'm going to get Rhea Ripley to sign it later because she's the one that's been causing all this chaos, because this is the reason we're having this match. She's just, she's trying to get a division in lock, but unfortunately she's not doing a great job. Then we see Rhea Ripley actually comes out and she says, I'm really not sorry about interrupting this. And she says that, it's a conspiracy that we're having a fatal 5-way match, and it seems as though Adam Pearce has very much set me up. And he says, if you continue to keep doing this, I'm going to make your life a living hell, and there'll be 4 less women in my division because I am the most dominant woman in the entirety of WWE, and says that Mami is always on top. And then we see Nia Jax. She comes in and she basically goes ahead and says, I get what you're doing, Rhea. You're very smart. You want me to squash all of them for you, but then I still have to deal with you. Like, you've still got me, unfortunately, if I squash all of them. And then she goes ahead and patronizes Rhea, Shayna, and Zoe and tries to break it down and explain it to them, being like, she wants me to beat you down so that I can go up against her. And then, goes on like that. And then everyone starts beating down on Nia because Nia's being patronizing. And Rhea Ripley's just out of the ring, like in the walkway, just laughing. Then we see a backstage segment quickly with Ludwig and Giovanni. Now, this is obviously after last week where Ludwig now has to take care of Giovanni Vinci. And Ludwig says, you know what Gunther asked of you, please make sure you take him out, because at the end of the day, I am responsible for you, and this reflects on me if you cannot do your job properly. We see Bronson Reed come in and he says, how about you tell Gunther that I want a round 2 of our match last week? And then Ludwig goes ahead and says, well, why don't you go and find him yourself? We see Akira Tazawa come in and ask Bronson Reed for a match. Bronson says no. Then we see Akira hitting Bronson with a chop, and then Bronson changes his mind and says, it's actually going to be your funeral. And then Maxine's like, why did you do that? Could have found you a different competitor. You didn't need to go ahead and antagonize Bronson like that. So you've kind of got yourself in this now. We had the match between Giovanni Vinci and Johnny Gargano. Now, this was a very short match. It was very much used to further the storyline between DIY and Imperium. Then we see Giovanni Vinci straight away just doing anything and everything, beating down on Johnny Gargano. But Johnny starts to fight back. Tommaso Ciampa comes out of nowhere, gets rid of Ludwig Kaiser, and then we see Johnny Gargano hitting the one final beat DDT, and Johnny Gargano comes away with the win. And we hear Michael Cole go ahead and say, DIY is in full force. I'm so excited. It's about time that they're on the main roster and actually getting a chance to do their thing, so I'm so incredibly happy. We had a really quick backstage promo from Shinsuke Nakamura, and he's basically talking about Ricochet, and then he's talking about the fire that's still within him and is asking, who is going to be worthy enough to set me free. Then we see Logan Paul coming out and cuts a promo in the ring and starts ripping on Dylan Dennis straight away and says that he's a free agent, and when he becomes the US championship, he's going to give everybody on the internet something to talk about, and he'll have to come and defend the championship on Monday Night Raw. Dominic Mysterio comes out, and Logan Paul's looking really excited because we've seen in the past Logan Paul's talking about wanting to have promos with Dominic Mysterio and being in the ring at the same time, because obviously the response that the crowd gives Dominic is just insane. Logan wants to be a part of that. And Dominic's trying to acknowledge Logan, and then Logan's like, well, why don't you just show Dominic some respect, like let the man talk. Then we hear Dominic basically go ahead and say that, you are the future champion, and I can't wait for you to beat my deadbeat dad. That is a tongue twister. Say that 5 times fast, honestly. Then we see Logan coming out and he says, well, Rey Mysterio does need a humbling. And Dom says, after Crown Jewel, we will be champs. And Logan goes ahead and then calls out Samantha Irvin and says, you have done a great job, you deserve your flowers. How about you come into the ring? I just want to talk, just want to acknowledge you and all the hard work you do within the WWE universe. And I want you to give them a preview of what it's going to sound like at Crown Jewel when you announce me the winner. So Samantha Irvin comes in the ring and they start antagonizing her, and then Ricochet comes in and starts beating down on Dominic Mysterio and Logan Paul. Obviously, because Logan references the fact that Ricochet was in a match with him at SummerSlam. If you know, you know. And then we see Ricochet going ahead and checking up on his fiancée, Samantha. Then we had a really short match between Chelsea Green, Piper Niven, Natalya, and the mystery partner, which is Nikki Cross. What the hell was this? Because I literally wrote down WTF, and then I wrote down Chelsea and Piper are double teaming Natalya. Nikki Cross is standing on the outside of the ring, and she just like deadpan stare, and then she just ups and leaves. Then Natalya hits a really nice release German suplex onto Chelsea Green. Chelsea Green hits her unprettier finisher, as well as Piper doing a crossbody splash. They come away with the win. What the hell was this? Like, I just don't understand. I don't know. Then we had a medical update, and it is now confirmed that Cody Rhodes now has an ankle injury. As I said, injury spot going into a big match. Cody comes away with the win. Let's see how we get on with that one. And then we see Jey Uso and Drew McIntyre interacting backstage, and Drew McIntyre tells Jey Uso, I've got some really good advice after your loss of your tag titles. How about you just get over it? Then we see The Miz running into Adam Pearce and complains about the fact that he's got no plans and no booking. Adam Pearce gets distracted because Rhea Ripley's come in to sign her contract, and The Miz is like, well, where's everyone going? Why is everybody not paying attention to me? I'm two-time Grand Slam champion. I made the Intercontinental Championship relevant again, blah, blah, blah. So it's interesting to see the fact that now The Miz's kind of storyline is that I'm so much greater than everybody. Why is not anybody paying attention to me, kind of thing. Then we had the match between Sami Zayn and Drew McIntyre. Now, this was a really good match. I really enjoyed this. We got to see Drew McIntyre and Sami Zayn locking up. Then Sami tries to out-strengthen Drew McIntyre, but if you've seen Drew McIntyre, you know how much of a big, meaty man he is. You'll never catch me saying that ever again, but it is the truth. Then we see Drew McIntyre hitting Sami Zayn with some chops. Sami takes the fight outside of the ring and hits a moonsault over the barricade. So he's standing on the barricade and then flips over. Drew McIntyre ends up catching him. There's a moment where Drew McIntyre hits a really nice vertical suplex onto Sami. Then we see there's a moment where Sami Zayn hits a sunset flip powerbomb. Oh my gosh. How does Michael Cole say these kind of things? Because, oh my god, it's crazy. And we see Sami hitting a blue thunderbomb. Drew McIntyre hits 2 belly-to-bellies followed by a net breaker. Then we see Rhea Ripley come out, and she somewhat causes a distraction to both of them. Then we see Sami Zayn hitting a exploder. Drew McIntyre follows this with a claymore and comes away with the win. So it's interesting to see if Drew McIntyre is actually in an alliance with the Judgment Day, specifically Rhea Ripley. It's just very interesting. Then we see Caden Carter and Katana Chance backstage talking with Nick Aldis. And Adam Pearce comes in and is just like, what are you doing? When I told you to stick around, I asked you to watch the show. You know, I didn't ask you to start talking to all my, roster members and come around and try and poach everybody. And then Nick Aldis is like, well, okay, well, if that's the case, then I will leave. Thank you for having me, and kind of walks off. Then we see Nikki Cross just kind of like walk through the camera. Like, what the hell's going on with her? Like, I literally don't understand. We had the match between Akira Tazawa and Bronson Reed. Now, this was honestly not much to talk about. It was a very short match. You tried to see Akira Tazawa overpower Bronson Reed, but he ends up hitting his running senton into a tsunami and ends up coming with the win. Poor Akira Tazawa. It was nice to see that you tried. Then after this, we had a backstage segment with all of the tag teams in the division. So Alpha Academy DIY, which is now cool to say that, and the New Day. And they all just start talking about how, Akira lost against Bronson and it's all good, and they've got a really good tag team division in the locker room, which is cool to see. Then we see Drew McIntyre and Seth Rollins meet backstage, and, they start talking about the fact that Rhea's trying to recruit them both, and they both kind of agree that, no one's going to kind of go with the Judgment Day, and says, may the best man win at Crown Jewel. Then we had the main event, which was Damian Priest going up against Jey Uso. I really enjoyed this match. It was a really hard-hitting match. Straight away, Damian Priest is just fighting really hard out of the gate. Jey's hitting some really nice drop kicks, flies over the rope. Then we see Damian Priest is hitting a really nice broken arrow. Jey follows this with a really nice crossbody. Jey goes for the Samoan drop, hits a 2 count on Damian, so Damian kicks out. Then we see Jey Uso hitting a suicide dive, which Damian Priest ends up catching Jey Uso and then slams him into the table as well too. Then we see step up enzuigiris coming from both Damian and Jey. Then we see Damian setting up the Razor's Edge. Jey Uso hits the Uso Spear followed by a splash. Then we go ahead and see that Finn Balor interferes, and then Jey Uso hits a dive on Finn Balor. Then we see Priest hits Jey with the South of Heaven to come away with the win. Then we see Finn Balor goes out and starts beating out on Jey Uso. We see him hit a coup de grace and then go and grab some steel chairs to set up Jay's ankle, very similarly to how Cody Rhodes got set up earlier in the night. We see Cody Rhodes coming out. Now he has wrapped up one ankle. He's coming out and tries to fight to help Jay. He's fighting up against Finn Balor and then ends up beating down on Damian Priest. So it's kind of interesting to see that Cody and Jay kind of come out of this looking a lot better than what they did going into it. But it's also very interesting to see where this storyline is going to take us going into Crown Jewel. That's the Monday Night Raw recap for this week. If you stuck around till the end, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. That helps push our videos out into the algorithm to find more wrestling fans like you. Make sure you go ahead and check out the description to find all of our personal social medias. They are linked down below so you can keep up to date with what we are doing when we are not here. We've got an NXT review coming this week, as well as a SmackDown review and the long anticipated rematch between Snapbacks and Beards and Outcasted OC in our quiz night this week. You do not want to miss this one. Make sure you go ahead and go onto our Instagram so you can keep up to date with when that's coming out, because honestly, it's about time Snapbacks and Beards get that, beating that they've been needing for a couple of months now after they beat us, unfortunately. But we're coming back, we're stronger, we're better than ever, and we are going to beat them down. So make sure you go ahead and tune in for all of that. That'll be coming out within the next couple of days. I'll see you guys in the podcast this week. Bye, guys.